It feels good. I keep feeling it. It's kind of weird, but ooh. I've brought out my number 4 plane, which is pretty much smaller than the number 5, but it's lighter and it's easier to move. And I've smoothed out a majority of the top. I'm getting some tear out, so I'm not going to go too much further. As I go deeper in, it's just kind of natural to ash. You get a little bit of like soft spot and it just kind of rips it out. So I'm not going to go much further. I'm going to probably finish sand it smooth. But I've got it level and pretty much glass smooth with the number 4. So I put that against the planing stop and plane to smooth there. But now what I've done, I've kind of clamped it to the bench edge and I'm putting this chamfer in. So I've started kind of planing. You'll see like over here is smooth and here, but here's got that divot in it. So I'm trying to smooth that out and kind of level it out. I am worried though, the more I plane, it's going to start maybe breaking this edge off. And that little dip, I don't know if I'm going to get down that low, but I'm going to keep working at it here with the number 4 and just keep trying to level and plane this, smooth this out. I guess to give you a little more explanation, what the plane is there's a blade here and it just protrudes just a little bit past the bottom of this. So if you can see that, it's just enough. Then you can adjust the depth of the cut with this wheel. So every time I take a pass, I'm taking just like a micro of a millimeter of a thickness off, like just paper thin shaving, you know. And each time I do, I'm bringing this depth down and I'm planing down to this lower part. So that's what I'm doing right now. When you're planing, you kind of want to go with the grain of the wood. So you'll start to figure out if you go against it, you'll get more tear out like this. This right here, just the way the grain kind of matched, no matter which, I tried both ways, no matter which way I went at it, it was tearing it out pretty bad. So I'm going to try to sand that one smooth or maybe scrape it, but that's pretty deep already, so I might have to sand it. So I'm just going to kind of shape it out here. Keep this up a little deeper. Almost there with it. Starting to get more tear out over here. So I'll go a little bit lighter on the depth, but it's still pretty deep to get down to these gouges here. So I still have plenty of thickness, especially a lot more on this side. So I also don't want this to be a razor's edge, but I'll come through and round that out when I sand it. But ooh, we're almost there. It's getting almost away. I don't want to go too far back though, because as I go further back, I'm losing space, you know. So we'll see how much further we can go. Every time I go down, right, I'm taking material off this way. So I want to try to limit that as much as possible. I could tilt this way and bring the angle down more. That would get rid of this and wouldn't push us further back. But then we're going to be losing more of our live edge. This is the back, so I'm not too worried about losing it, but you know, I want to keep as much as I can. Okay, so we're getting more tear out, so I'm going to ease up with that big gash is gone. And we're kind of leveled out. We have a little dip here. So I'm just going to straighten that out. Bring up my set a little bit. Try to take just whisper thin shavings. Alright, so I flipped it around, clamped it back down, and I measured from here. I got a measurement about the depth of this chamfer. And now I've transferred that same measurement, just went across, kind of dragged down that measurement so that I have a line of reference that I want to plane to. I don't want to go further because I want this to all be about the same depth all the way around. So we'll get our plane and we'll just start working this kind of angle all the way around. So I'm kind of working this side first, getting it down, and I'll try to plane this side till I get down to depth, and then I'll start kind of working it back up to our line. So, alright, so since we last left, I've planed up to our plane line. I've kind of matched the depth of the angles. This is a little deeper of an angle, but I'm okay with that because I don't want to lose too much of the live edge. This is our front. But we did get rid of all the grooves, the depths. We still have this imperfection up here from that stick, but it's almost gone. So I'm going to put a bit of a chamfer on the edges now. And then I'll start squaring everything off to it. But I did notice in the planing we've lost a little bit of our radius over here and here. So we're going to plane, as we plane those, we're going to try to plane those back in and get those back to a nice radius, nice curve. Okay, so this was the side that had the jigsaw where it kind of curved in. So I kind of went with that and planed it so that everything was smooth across with just a little chamfer. I'll follow that around the other side too, just so it matches. And then chamfered the front side about a ½ inch in, just to kind of give it some character and some more kind of shadow lines. So I'm going to smooth, this will eventually be sanded smooth, but it's there. We're still losing, as every time we plane a little bit more off, we're losing our radius. So we're going to have to come back after all that because of this mess up with the jigsaw. We'll have to come back in and kind of finish off these corners a little bit more. But I'm going to do the same on the other side, and then we're almost there. Okay, so I'm playing the other side. I tried to put the same kind of degree of chamfer on the edge going inward as the other side to match that mistake, and then came through, put a ½ inch chamfer on the upper edge. So all in all, put some grooves in there. So all in all, it's looking like a board. So I've got a number of different files I can use. This one's kind of for, I think, for horses, to be honest, for their hooves, but it's got kind of a real aggressive kind of back end to it, so we'll go from there. Or I'll use a combination of other files. But we need to put a fairly good radius on these. So I'll probably finish with kind of a more of a smoother file. Start with the aggressive. Kind of want to go with the grain. If you go against it, you'll get tear out. Okay. So if you want, as you're doing this, you want to look for high spots. So kind of put it somewhere where you can see the light. look for kind of visually appealing is what you want. Just so it looks cohesive, it's nice and smooth. And blends in. Sandpaper will take care of the rest. It's like hard edge and stuff, but we don't want a knife edge wind up cutting someone on our board. But we're going to do that all the way around on all four sides. Okay, so we've got our radiuses cut back in, our chamfers are in, we're pretty much smooth. I smoothed out the bottom the best I could. We've got a little dip here, but we'll sand that smooth if you want to notice it. Our live edge is still intact, even though we faded some of the curve into it. I brushed it a little bit with a wire brush. Like, I'm like showing you all this and you're not even seeing it. So I brushed a little bit with this wire brush, the live edge. Yeah. So we're gonna go take it back now. I'm gonna put it on the orbital sander just because it's getting late in the day and I don't feel like hand sanding this. I'm gonna sand this the best I can to try to get some of this tear out. I don't think I'm gonna get it all out, but it is what it is. So now I'll just start kind of softening up some of these edges as I sand it, and we'll see where we go. This stuff here I'm gonna try to get out the best I can, but it is what it is. Yeah. Okay. Alright, so I went in back, took the orbital sander. I didn't take you because all you're going to hear is just loud. So I took it to the back, I sanded it all with 60 grit, tried to get as much of that tear out as I could. I got most of it out, to be honest. There's a little bit there, you can feel it, but that is what it is. Gives it character. So I sanded everything, I kind of rounded off all of the edges so there's no sharps anymore. Everything's kind of softened and it feels good. I keep feeling it. It's kind of weird, but ooh. But anyway, but that's where we've gotten with it. So in the course of the today, I think I started this video off with like 2 hours, but it's taken way longer than that. But finished product, we've got a board, right? So what do I do from here? I actually, as I was building it, came up with some more ideas. So I want to go, I'm gonna go to like Home Depot or something tomorrow. I'm gonna buy some like longer cabinet pulls, I guess, and I'm gonna put 2 handles on each side so you can kind of carry it. Then once that is done, then I'm gonna oil it. I'll film that later. So basically, you can use mineral oil, but you want to use a food-safe mineral oil. You don't want to use any like varnishes or stains or anything like that because food's going on this. So you want it to be, you know, fairly healthy, not have like toxins and oils and stuff in it. So I've got some cutting board oil. So I've got this stuff, Clark's cutting board oil. I'm going to try it. It's something new, but it's food grade mineral oil essentially. It's got orange and lemon extract in it. So it's supposed to condition the wood and stain it. So we'll see how that goes. I think you put it on, you basically let it sit. So you spread it evenly, let it sit for, I don't know, maybe 12 hours. I'll have to read the directions on this one, but basically let it sit. So it says several times over, allow to penetrate 1 to 2 hours, and then apply it several times over 24 hours. So we're going to do that. We're going to put probably 4 or 5 coats of oil in this so that it's waterproof and healthy, you know, and clean, and will hopefully give us a nice lasting finish so we don't want it to gray. All right, so we're back. It's been a few days later now. I've kind of been, you know, life gets in the way. But I've been working on this slowly on and off camera. Went and got some more like sandpaper discs for the orbital sander because I ran out. So I got some better stuff and really sanded this really well. I went with like a 60 grit.
out here. I'll show you. So I started with a 60 grit. Right here. Sanded that, the whole front or top and back, which is really aggressive. It's pretty aggressive sandpaper. So so I sanded it all with 60 grit and got all of those tear out chips out. Smoothed it all smooth. Then I went back over it with 120 grit, sanded all that. That got it pretty smooth. That probably would be good enough there, but you know, it's never good enough. So I went with a 220 on top of that. So now I've got the 220 on, or sanded on the top and the back, and it is looking, it's again, it's almost back to glass smooth. It's not as smooth as you would have with the plane, but it's, to the touch, it's pretty smooth. So I did that, and then let's see. So I finished the sanding on 220, so everything is nice and smooth now. If you look even close, there's no like gashes or tear out or anything. Everything is very smooth. Even that stick spot is very smooth. I went over this multiple times. I really looked close at it to see if there was any risk of this piece coming out, but it's pretty well ingrained in there. Get it ingrained. But yeah, if you look closer on the side, you can see this is where that stick. So that at one point this was a branch or a stick or something that came off of the trunk, like an offshoot, and the tree just grew around it. So it's kind of just encased it over the years. So this is a potential weak point, but from what I can tell, it's in there pretty strong. So I don't think it'll be a problem. You probably noticed there's holes in it as well. So I measured that last night and drilled those out for handles. So I bought some handles here. You know, just nice little decorative curved handles. I just figured a little bit of metal on it would look good. It'll give it a little contrasting color. So essentially it'll look like that. You could put any poles you want on, any handles if you want. If you don't want handles, that's fine too. You could easily just come in here and kind of just carve out, which was my original plan, just kind of carve out like a little long radius or curve in here. So it gives you something to get like a purchase on when it's sitting on the table underneath of your fingers, so you can lift it. Or you could do, you know, something like this. I thought about taking, hang on. Okay. So something else you could do if you don't want the metal poles on here. So these are just cabinet poles, right? They go on the drawer of a cabinet or on a door or something, you know. So, but we just utilize those. They come with little screws. You pick them up at any hardware store. And they had all different kinds, so you can, you know, go with whatever. All right, so yeah, you can get these at any hardware store, and you know, put on whatever you want, whatever style you want, whatever fits your, you know, your personality. But these are going to be a gift for someone, so I tried to get with something fairly simple, but you know, a little bit decorative, just to bring in a little bit. I've got the chamfer in the wood, so I kind of went with kind of that curved, kind of angled chamfer line, so kind of similar lines, but you know, like I said, whatever you want. So another option you could do is like a leather strap. If you don't want to have a metal on your board and you want to have more of like that, you know, natural wood type and stuff, but you still want to have some type of handles and you don't want to carve underneath, you could get something like this at like any craft store, right? It's just little thin leather straps, and you could essentially get like a decorative brass tack or nail or something and kind of nail it in the side and then just cut it down and kind of curve it over like that and nail it in both sides, cut it, and now you've got, you know, a little handle or something that you could, you know, You can make it whatever length you want. But something like that would be kind of cool too. So that's another option if you want that. I also bought these little rubber, like grippy feet type things that are screw-in. So I figured as you sit it on the table in your kitchen or wherever you're putting it, or put it on the counter, it won't slip on the table or something if that's a big deal. So basically I flipped it back over and brought my ruler out and kind of lined up the middle of the holes for the poles and kind of went across there. And then I went, I just kind of eyeballed what looked good in this line. So I'm still keeping it in the same line as the screws, but I went out like 3/4 of an inch. It figured right there. So I kind of marked a little line horizontally across and then marked where I want my screw holes to be. When you drill, you just want to drill, deep enough to take the screw. Don't drill all the way through to the top of your board, unless you're looking for that kind of decorative, holdy look. Okay, so we're gonna put some oil on now. So basically, you can use a spreader. You can use a terry cloth rag if you want. You can use your hands. It doesn't matter. This is all food safe oil. It doesn't stain. It's just a natural oil. But in this case, I'm just gonna use an old gift card from Tim Hortons. So essentially, what you do, you've got your surface clean. You've kind of wiped it down with a damp rag or damp cloth. There's things called tack cloths. So it will clean up any sawdust or anything. So this has been cleaned and dried. So essentially we're going to put just a little bit of oil in the center. And then we're going to take our gift card or spreader. And we're just going to kind of spread it around. You can see already just the natural grain and the color of the wood coming out. You don't need a ton, but man, does this stuff smell good. So it's got orange and, is it orange and lemon extract in it? So it smells amazing. I don't think that will stay like that, but applying it smells great. So you want to bring it kind of to the edges without like dripping a ton off the sides. You want to try to avoid off the sides if possible, but when you're done, if you do have any drips on the side, you want to wipe those off. But eventually, I mean, you're going to cover everything. So you're going to cover the sides and stuff, but you're trying to apply it evenly without just excess dripping all over your floor. Since, you don't want to be wasteful. But yeah, you get that natural kind of wood color of the ash comes out. You can now see the grain pops a lot more. So just kind of keep working it. If you need to add more oil, add more oil. We're going to kind of just evenly spread this out. And we're going to repeat this process several times here over the next 12, 24 hours. And then we're going to do it again on the bottom side. So we've spread that around. It's already, I can already tell, I've got dry spots and stuff where it's just instantly sucking it in. But that is okay. So then we're going to take just like a damp rag and kind of just lightly, real lightly, just kind of rub at the edges. We're not trying to suck it up, but we're trying to get like any pooling or something off of the top. So we're going to let this sit for a few hours. I'm going to come back, do another coat, come back, do another coat. I'm going to try to get roughly, I would say, at least 5 coats, 4 or 5 coats of oil, preferably 7, and just really, have this wood just suck up this oil to ingrain it. But it's looking good so far. So I'll come back. I'll refilm the next application because you can already tell like there's still some lighter spots where the oil's sucked up in it immediately. So the goal is to even that out, make it all one cohesive bit. So we'll be back. This has been sitting for a couple hours now. We're just going to do the same thing, just apply a coat. I'm feeling, because I want to see if I can feel any ridges from the original oil, if it raised any of the grain or not. I don't feel anything. If I did, I would probably want to give it a light sanding again. But nothing seems to be raised here, so I'm just going to put another coat of oil on. So same process, just a little bit of oil and just spread it. It helps to have like a light on the side. I've got a light behind me kind of shining on the board, and it'll give you a little bit of an idea of where the oil's been spread, where it's maybe still dry, where it needs to be applied a little bit more. I'm just going to kind of take my finger and rub around the sides a bit. Try to even out any little bits that have dried or dripped down the side, I should say. All right, so I'm just going to repeat this process over the course of the day. Just letting it dry for a few hours, coming out, feeling it, seeing if it needs a light sanding or not. Because it's oil, it's not really going to harden. It's mainly just going to dry. So you want it to penetrate the wood pretty good. And then if you do feel some ridges or anything, maybe a light sanding between coats, but you don't want to go real hard with it. You're just kind of taking those ridges down again to keep it smooth. But in this case, doesn't seem to be raising the grain at all. So we're just going to keep putting on coats, let it penetrate. And you're starting to see that more of that golden color come out a lot more with every coat that we're putting on. So we'll just keep doing that for the rest of the day, and then we'll let it dry overnight, and then tomorrow probably, if it's dry to the touch, we'll come out, we'll put rub a paper towel over it and make sure we're not getting any oils coming off of it. And if it's dry, then we'll go ahead, we'll mount our hardware on, we'll mount our feet on, and this will be done. Okay, so we've put 7 coats of oil on the top, 5 on the bottom, 7 on the sides. Everything has been dried. I can touch it to the touch. It doesn't feel oily. It's not wet. Everything's been dried, let to sit throughout the day, and then been finally kind of wiped off with just a clean rag and buffed. So now we're going to put on our handles and our feet, and we'll be done. So let's start with the feet. So I've just got some little tiny screws. It came with some larger ones, these, but I was worried they don't need that much, and I didn't want to risk coming through the other side. Even though I don't think that the wood's clearly taller than that, but so basically just find your pilot holes and screw the feet in. Doesn't need to be super tight, just snug. We've got a couple more of those. 1, 2, 3 more of these. So we drilled our pilot holes earlier, so they should, we don't have to worry about the wood splitting. Just snug enough to tighten them down. So now we'll put a screw in there. And a screw in that hole. Put a rag down so we don't scratch it. Ensure that these are sticking up enough. So we've got our screws coming out the other side now. Basically, we'll put them on. And we'll screw it in from the bottom. Snug that down. And clear all that out. And there is our charcuterie board. All done, oiled. There you go.